Wilson and robs Braun of a hit.
Well, Fort with a cannon shot to second.
All right. Episode 1. Jack Wilson, Michael McHenry, Flash, Fortward. You see the play on words right there, Willie?
I like it.
Flash, Fortward. That's what we're going to call it for now. Awesome graphics done by Mikey Walsh, an editor at AT&T. Phenomenal stuff. We're going to keep coming out with new things, keep trying new things, but we thought we'd get together because people want to listen to us. There's been a high demand here for Jack Wilson and Michael McHenry to get together and talk about baseball, life, family, faith, a little bit of everything, and kind of do it uncensored, unfiltered, and just have a good time. So first off, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm good at work right now.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's good work. PA is good. It's not 115 like it is here in Arizona. But
yeah, you're in Arizona, just moved recently, right?
Yeah.
How's
love
that?
it here. I love it. Like the heat, I don't mind. I don't mind the heat. I enjoy it. Like if it's really hot, just stay inside, bro. It's cool. Like, but it's this at night when you go out at night and it's still like 85, 87 and you're walking your dog and like it's awesome. So just enjoy. During the day, it's pretty hot right now, but like in the evenings and the mornings, it's really nice and just a good place to be. You know, grew up in California, was there for a long time, and then I kind of like when we moved over here. I followed Jacob when he came out to college, so it's been a really cool move.
But the heat, there's like the sun's right here.
It is
right.
It's there and it's wet.
It's like you're closer to the sun somehow.
Yes, they say it's a dry heat. I disagree. Because I'm not ever dry while it's that hot.
Desert.
Yes, it is very, very. And there's so much baseball here, though. There's more baseball here, because obviously you got Florida, Georgia, Texas, and Arizona are like the hotbeds for baseball tournaments because of all. You got a bunch of.
Whoa.
What?
Repeat, please. Repeat.
Yes.
You forgot a state. Repeat.
No. Not as far as talent. I'm talking about baseball tournaments where they play all the
Once
big
again,
tournaments.
repeat.
What am I missing? You think I'm going to say Tennessee? Who plays in Tennessee?
You should say Tennessee. It's the greatest show on earth. Are you kidding me? Everybody wants to go to Nashville.
Oh, I think Nashville's amazing, but I don't think it has spring training facilities like we have in Arizona, where you can play anywhere.
Oh, you jumped the line. I didn't know we were in pro ball here. I was just talking about.
It's all the youth tournaments. All the youth tournaments are out here. Once you get to high school, they use all the spring training facilities as the big PG events, the USA recognition events. All that stuff is right here because there's all these fields and you can hundreds of teams coming in all summer. And man, I coached it. I went through travel. Yeah, I went through travel ball with Jacob and coaching with GBG and stuff like that and doing these tournaments. And it's funny, as a coach and as a player, you don't feel the heat until after the game because your mind's so focused. But gosh dang, like watching it and going over and watching some of the minor league sides right now and seeing some guys, man, it is cooking. I don't know how they do it. It's cooking.
But you can kind of go all year round, though. I mean, I remember one of my favorite times in maybe pro ball was the fall league. The weather was perfect. It never rained. The competition was remarkable, and we could just kind of jumped back and forth, 15-minute drive, complex to complex. So I get it. I agree. It's probably the best place ever. If I had to choose, and I want to ask you that too, where you wanted to have spring training, I always picked Arizona. I loved it.
Arizona, yeah. And especially your place when you were at Colorado, was it just opened? Did it just open?
My last year, I got traded the year they opened it. So I got a full spring, got traded, I think, the second to last day. So, it was Taj Mahal.
The facilities out here are amazing. I love Bradenton. I love Pirate City. The thing about between Florida and Arizona, obviously, is the travel, for sure. The travel from – unless you're going over and, playing the teams that are closer, like there's some long trips there. But in Arizona, everything's within 45 minutes of each other. So I think that's the big draw is, like – not a lot of time on the bus before and after the game, so that's good. That's good. How's Pennsylvania, my friend?
Pennsylvania's good. Guns N' Roses tonight. I'm not going to be over there, but my keys to the game reflect Guns N' Roses. So I try to keep it, a little love for the band, a little love for our childhood, in the 80s. You an 80s kid?
Absolutely. That's like the music mecca or the 80s, man. That was when music was – I love that music, man. 80s, I still throw that stuff on. Pandora. I'm still an 80s music guy, especially on the golf course. It's coming out. We're getting a whole lot of Madonna, a whole lot of Michael Jackson. We got all that. When you put that 80s mix on there, I mean, and you
dropped a Madonna. Like you could think of like
we're in middle school, man. Like it's all over again. Like I feel like I'm in an 8th grade dance, like this far away from my dancing like this. You know what I mean? Like that. It was good times. 80s music's amazing.
It is. Did you have a Madonna poster? I mean, that was a really quick response with Madonna.
Dude, first of all, Madonna was her and Michael ran them.
I get it. Yeah.
And not so much where I was like, I did go to her concert. She was the first concert I ever went to. That was pretty awesome. So I was a fan for sure. She was the queen. She was like
didn't see that
Britney before Britney, the Ariana before Ariana. Like she was the queen of pop. If Michael was a king, those two ran the show. Like they were, they ran the 80s. Those two were awesome. But yeah. Dude, don't be hating on Madonna. I mean, she's old as dirt.
I wasn't hating. I was just learning. I'm just in this together right there. Just learning a little bit. I bet you couldn't name my first concert. Hold on. You got to name my first concert. There's no way you could.
First of all, you grew up in Tennessee, so it's probably country. Right?
Okay,
I'm guessing
that's racist. That's country racist, but that's okay.
Okay, is it not the heart of the country music is not in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Nashville, Tennessee? Knoxville, Tennessee is country music. Let's just start with that.
And Memphis is the blues. I'm just saying.
It's true. So I'm going to try to guess.
Just trying to throw you off. Yeah, just try. You're not even close. It's not country. Not even close to country.
You were born in 1985. So how old are you when you went into your first concert?
I was 11, and I should not have been there. Let's just say my brother was kind of giving it to my mom and dad on this one.
100%. You went to New Kids on the Block. 100%.
I was a part of New Kids on the Block, actually. Yeah. I don't know if you know that, but I was. Yeah, me and Marky Mark like this. I went to
I'll go George Strait. Go George Strait. That's country legend.
No, Korn was my first concert.
Korn. Oh, so you're a hard rock guy.
No, not really. But my brother took me, and I got educated really fast there.
That had to be crazy.
So,
mosh pits and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I
saw a lot of things I probably shouldn't have. Yep. It was fun. Yep. My mom was like, "Oh, okay, you're going to go see Korn. That sounds nice. That sounds like a good old jolly old time." It's like, "Mom, they're heavy metal." She was like, "Oh, you guys have a good time. See you later."
Boys will be boys. You arrived.
That's when my brother was studying at the library too.
You left a 23-year-old. You saw some stuff.
Yeah, I came back shaving. No big deal.
Yeah. Hey, let's do a little Oppo intro. What do you got?
Well,
you in?
First off, you need to explain this because you brought it up. We said we wanted to do this podcast. We wanted to learn. We want to interview former teammates, learn about development, coaching, all this stuff. And then you're like, "Hey, let's do an Oppo intro." And I said, I know about Oppo tacos. I know about going the opposite way. I don't know about Oppo intro. So explain that to me.
Yeah, the Oppo intro was an idea like, okay, well, we should introduce ourselves, but instead of introducing me and you introducing you, we flip it. We go opposite. So I will explain myself, Michael Charles McHenry, to the world for the podcast so that they know who I am. And then you do the opposite and you can be me. And that way it'd be fun. And then I have totally some good notes here for myself, Michael Charles McKinley, MCK. Are you in? You think so? I got some stuff here.
I'll do my best. I know. You have.
I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go
Wikipedia.
there.
Let's go.
I'm going to go there. All right, let's go. Hi. I'm Michael Charles McHenry. I was born March 4th, 1985 in the Knoxville, Tennessee. As I grew up, I attended Farragut High School before heading to Middle Tennessee State, where I played 3 seasons, hitting .330 with 28 home runs and 123 RBIs in 139 games, which is pretty darn good. I'd say so for myself. I would then later go on to get drafted in the 7th round in 2006 by the Colorado Rockies and made my big league debut with those Rockies on September 8th, 2010. It's pretty quick. That's pretty quick. 2006.
Not as quick as somebody else.
It's quick, man. I went to Middle Tennessee State. I'm a good dude. Played seven years in the big leagues with Colorado, Pittsburgh, and St. Louis. Hit 29 bombs, had 103 ribbies. Nice. Some good power numbers. Some big yards there, too. Pittsburgh's a big yard. So hit some bombs there. You did something. But the biggest achievement, I think, is when I married Jacqueline Game. I threw my game out, got Jacqueline Game. We got married September 27th, 2008, and currently are the proud parents of Griffin Knox, my dog, my baller dog, who's 10 plus years old. I couldn't find the actual age of the dog, but he's up there. So he's been a family member for a long time. He's my guy. I currently work for the Pirates post and pre-game show for AT&T Sportsnet, and I'm a baller at it. I'm really good at it. I'm a dude. But I'm also a really good coach. I'm a really good coach. I'm a really good catching coach. I know what I'm talking about. Playing the big leagues, have a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. And this last summer, I got to be a coach at USA PDP League this summer, working with the top 100 high school kids in the nation. And I was on Team Red, and we had a great run. We lost in the championship, but I was the first base coach. We were running like crazy because I was getting reads like mad. I was telling my boys what to do. I just brought the energy, and we were awesome. And I'll finish this up with my Michael Charles McHenry. My favorite player all time growing up was Jack Wilson, the shortstop for the Pirates. That's all I got. That's what I got off of Wikipedia. With everything. Yeah. So that's me. That's Michael C. MCM. That's my guy.
MCM.
So, well, hello world. Oh, and now it's Oppo time.
That's pretty good. That was pretty good. So
I feel like that's all correct. That's all. Everything about it is 100% correct. So I wrote it down on, especially the last thing I said, because I wrote it down on my notes.
I think you nailed it.
Yes.
Okay. So, hello, my name is Jack the Flash Wilson. I was born December 29th, 1977, Dominican, 1982. My age is 45, American, 42, Dominican. Westlake Village, California is where I grew up. The ladies know me there very well as Jack the Flash, because that's when the nickname really began, because I'd flash away to focus on baseball. I went to
I thought you were going to go
Thousand Oaks. What?
I'm going to say I was really quick something with the ladies. Like, hold on.
Oh, you're great with the ladies. You had to beat them off with the stick. That's how you learned how to control your barrel so well. Now, Thousand Oak High School graduate, and later played 2 seasons at not Oxford, Oxnard, not to be confused with Ivy League school, Oxford. It's Oxnard Junior College. Did you know the likes of Terry Pendleton, Josh Towers, and Paul McNulty went there? But only person I need to remember is myself, Jack Wilson, because I'm the Flash. Now, moving on, I got drafted in 1999 while listening to Bone Thugs and Harmony. I got drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals, and they traded me. Can you believe that? They actually traded me.
How dare they?
To the Pittsburgh Pirates, jumped on the HOV lane, and I was in the big leagues within a year. 2000 got traded, or 99 drafted, 2000 got traded and made my debut opening day, April 3rd, 2001. Jack the Flash is now hitting. Not sure what I did that day. It's all a blur. Did you get a hit that day?
I didn't get a hit, but
It's okay. Me either. It took me. My first start, I struck out 4 times. No big deal. All right, here we're moving on. All right. So had a 12-year big league career, but when I really made it to the big leagues, I married my wife, Julie. She's an absolute superstar and a dime piece. We have 3 kids. Got married on January 30th, 1999. So right before you got drafted. So she went the whole journey with you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was actually drafted in 98. I just didn't want to put you were going, but it was 98. But you were going, so I didn't want to say nothing. But yeah,
you're not as cool. I'm not as cool anymore. Okay. Well, she went through the whole journey with me. She was the best.
Absolutely.
Have 3 kids: Jacob, Jaden, and Jersey. Beautiful children, great kids. Not to mention, Jacob was a 6th overall pick in the Oakland A's. So that's my story in a nutshell. I live in Arizona. I'm a coach now. I bless guys by helping pour into the young men, not just to focus on baseball, to focus on faith, focus on family. And the biggest thing, I try to grow men and help them become disciples, and hopefully they do the same thing, almost like a ripple effect. And I was very fortunate to win a gold medal last year, the 18U. Got to win that crown in Bradenton, my old stomping ground. So that was really, really special. And I'm still part of USA Baseball, a big part. About to do trials in a week. I got to do the PDP with Mac. He was my assistant coach. We had a blast. And I think coaching's in my near future. Not sure where God is going to open that door, but I believe he's going to open that door, and he's going to open it in a very wide way. And maybe, just maybe, I'm going to have the fort right beside me. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. So, yes, that's me. Jack Wilson, that's me.
Well done. Well done. I feel like I know you forever. That was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
I kind of like being you.
I like that. That was good. Little Oppo intro, little hello world.
That was fun. And I should say, the one thing I didn't tell people is the Dos Equis guy is based off your life. You once, no. People need to hear this. You once ran a marathon because it was on your way, but you didn't want to promote the alcohol. So you just said, listen,
right.
I'm all about this temple here, this temple. And I did run a marathon on the way because I needed to. So I thought people should know that. No big deal.
Love it. Well, that's us. That's us.
In a nutshell. That's us.
I love it. I think that's, I think you can already get a feel of what it's going to be like, when we have a topic or conversation or where we go with the show. And, I think I'm so excited about this project with you because it's always about point of view, right? Being able to see other people's point of views and as professional players who live in faith and gone through that journey of high school player, travel ball player, college D1 player, drafted, prospect, major leaguer, get to stay up there, all the hardest things you have to do. I think that it's cool to get a different perspective. And also too, we played at two different timelines. The game that you played in your years and the game that I played in my years are slightly different. And then you even so different on where it's headed now and what it's doing now. So I think I'm really excited about this because it gets a chance to tell people what it's like to be a Christian in professional baseball and what that, and how the journey is, how tough it is, but also how amazing it is to glorify God and what you're able to do every day on a platform, on a field like a Major League Baseball stadium. So I'm super pumped to get this started and get on this journey with you.
Yeah, me too. When we first started talking, I guess I'm going to give a little background on kind of how we came together. And last year, fantasy camp, we didn't know each other that well. Just kind of hearsay, heard a lot of great things about you. And I was really excited about getting down to fantasy camp and getting to know kind of that whole fold and see, how it was going to untwine and see what that was all about. But my favorite part of it was hanging out with you. You happen to be on the same team as me. Been very fortunate to be, alongside of you, partner in crime a couple different times now. And we kind of just gelled really well. And I feel like that's the type of guy you were from everyone I've talked to. And from what I've seen is you were a glue guy. And I took a lot of pride in that as well. I was trying to be the best teammate I could, the best man I could, best husband I could. And obviously, the best servant leader I could, focusing on my faith. And I felt like we were just going to, click from there. And it just kind of took off. I mean, it seems like God's intertwined our life in a couple different ways now. And now we have an opportunity to maybe give back, to the game that gave so much to us. And we're not going to throw it in your face all the time about faith, but we're going to tell you about our high standards, the things that we really pride ourselves on when it comes to teaching young men. And we're going to bring on people that, are way smarter than us, people that, we look at and say, man, this is the person we really, see wisdom in. And you're gonna be like, who is this guy? And It's just going to be constantly flowing and ever changing because we have no ego. And that's one thing I love about you is you're a guy. I feel like you're a fungo savant. And what I mean by that is you're a guy that's willing to hit focus anywhere at any time and learning from anybody. And I feel like King Solomon in the Bible talks about, learning from the peasant, learning from the least of these, because if you're willing to listen there, you're going to learn a lot more. And I want to always remember, it doesn't matter who's talking, you can learn something. And that's kind of our entire focus. We're going to teach each other. We're going to bounce ideas off each other. It's always going to be maybe a little bit of chaos mixed with some order. We're always going to have some fun, but we're also going to have some serious talks. And I'm really looking forward to it. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time. I didn't know who God was going to put in my life to do it. Well, lo and behold, it's you, and I'm excited.
Oh, no, I feel the same way, Mag. I think it's one of those things that it hit off right away. Like getting to meet you. I was actually nervous to meet you when
No doubt.
when they
Me
told
too.
me when they told me in fantasy camp, I'm like, oh man, he's a newer player. Usually fantasy camp, we have a lot of the older guys, and I was always the young pup, and I'm older. So I was like, oh, dude, we got a new guy in. He played like when they were much better than when I played. I was like, so I was kind of nervous, and then like just that whole week was just amazing. Like just the thought processes, how we worked together, and then I was so pumped when we were able to link up and get it over to USA together. And I know that there's going to be more of that coming where we could slip on the USA jerseys together and do some more things with them. And, you know, it's one of those things when you find somebody that you just share such common stuff with, the lifestyle, the game, how we view the game, how we view teaching the game, like the passion we have for it, the passion we have for Christ inside the game, which is kind of makes it so the game is not as important as everybody thinks it is, where we were able to lean on our Savior and someone who's taking care of us every single day and not worrying about so much about results or whatever, just knowing that someone's got our back and he's always going to be there for us. And, you know, that just makes life in general so much easier, and especially life in the big leagues, which is so difficult, you know. So I love the fact that we get to talk about that and talk about just our different experiences. You know, you as a college player, you're getting into coaching now, which I love because I think you have a passion for that and you're really good at it. Then, you know, being a guy that also coached Jacob through 9U all the way through high school, coaching college for a year at Grand Canyon, being able to share those experiences, not only as a coach, but as a father, you know, experiences that I've had with my son, the things that I learned from the many, 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 many mistakes that I made as a father and as a coach. And I think what you're talking about is when I first started doing that, coming from a major leaguer to coaching kids, I was that guy that didn't think he had to learn anything about coaching because, man, I played for 12 years. And there was those couple of years where I actually had to learn again, like I was a player again, because as a player, we always want to consume as much information as possible from every coach we ever had. So I'd love to have some segments where we dive into what it's like to be a dad of a player in travel ball coming up and how to help kids get to the next level if they want to play college baseball. But also too is, you know, the coach and the dad, you know, the drive homes after games, things like that really stick out as pivotal moments with our players and our kids, and stuff that I would love to dive into and share just the many, many things I learned that I did wrong. You know, I think that's the best tool is teaching and telling people the mistakes they made so that they don't make them themselves.
Yeah, it expedites your learning.
Yeah.
I want to rewind real quick. So I don't have children. I'm going to have children at some point. God has not blessed us. So like, I want to dive into that very deeply when it comes to the dad and the 9-year-old, the 10-year-old, all the way up to 18U. Cause I've been the guy on the opposite end of the spectrum. So the dad kind of lets their kid go and gives them to me because the dad has no influence. And I hear it all the time. And something that you just said before I even ask you the question I want to ask is, when I got out of pro ball, I was with the Tampa Bay Rays. We won the national championship at AAA. My bad. And I was literally there as almost a mentor.
Crash Davis.
I was pretty much Crash Davis, yes.
Yeah.
But I took the time to really learn the ins and outs of the nuances of baseball. So I wanted to learn, you know, what was a flight scope, what was TrackMan, you know, Rapsodo, all these things that were going on. But I also wanted to learn how to read the numbers from a baseball perspective with an actual jersey on, and then also khaki pants perspective is what I called it. So I got to know those guys a lot. But when I got done playing, Jack, I had a hard time even speaking to people about baseball because my mind was going 3,000 miles an hour. It's like that meme where all these numbers are going in front of his head, and I couldn't remember the basics. So what I did to piggyback what you said is I took a couple kids and I said, hey, show up, $30, $35. I don't know when I'm going to be done, and I don't know how often we should do this, but as often as you'll show up, I'll be there. So
nice.
Pretty much gave them a free lesson for me to learn. And it was great. I did all kinds of stuff. I started doing all these weird things to try to figure out how to match, swing path with analytics and all these different things, tried all these new gadgets. It was a lot of fun for me. And I think the kids got a lot out of it because they got to spend a ton of time. The guy played Major League Baseball and who was willing to spend 2-3 hours of his time, sometimes getting in trouble because I was always late for dinner or something like that. But that's our passion. And with that being said, I'd love to hear how you were able to go from 9U all the way through last year at Grand Canyon coaching your son, because I see so much turmoil. I see so much resentment. I see so much pushback when it comes to parents and coaching. And I've seen you coach. I think you have a gift beyond gifts when it comes to reaching young men. And the fact that you're able to reach your son is a whole nother element. So just explain a little bit of that.
Yeah, it started off pretty rough. Like I said, I was just, he was talented. A lot of kids are talented at that age. And, I think the biggest I fell into the same parent trap where if my kid's talented, he should get a hit every time. Like this is Pony Miller. This is literally
like we did.
Like, are you freaking kidding me? This kid is throwing 27 miles an hour and you popped up just short, and it was like that for a little bit. And then my wife and then my father-in-law would point it out and be like, hey, you're really hard on Jake. And then it just took that outside perspective, because for me, I saw what he could be. And I think that's the hard part, is like we have these envisions of what they could be. Even when they're at 9, 10, 11 years old, you have these like expectations. Well, man, if he keeps doing this, he can go this, instead of staying in that moment. And that moment is he's 10 years old. And he is definitely not even thinking about what the future is. He is literally waking up on Saturday morning to play a baseball game. And it's the best day on the planet. Like, it's the best day. He's laid out his clothes the night before. He needs a backpack. He needs equipment, Big League Chew and sunflower seeds. And he's the happiest dude on the planet because he knows I'm going to go out and play no matter what. Mom's going to get me an ice cream cone after the game. Like, that's all he cares about. Where we're, as parents, we see talent and we're thinking about, oh, G1 scholarship. Oh, he's going to get drafted and he's going to make the big leagues. And we just go so much in fast forward mode. And then going into it, I'm like, wait a second. I'm looking at my dad. I'm like, I couldn't do this when I was 10, right? He's like, no, like, this dude's way better than you were. I was like, oh, okay. So then I start buying into that, which is, another huge mistake. But then as time would go, I saw the effect it had on him. And we talk about those car rides, like the most influential time that you'll have with your athlete, with kids in general, is that time in the car, either coming home from school, but obviously with an athlete, it's coming home after the game. And I made this switch as kind of like an experiment. Like, what if I do not bring up the game at all, no matter what happened? Because it's easy to talk about a 3-for-4 game. We won and he had a great game. Like, of course, we're going to be like, oh, let's go to Toppers or go to a pizza place and go, party. But the thought process was, I'm going to spend these next few games and I'm going to get in the car. We're going to turn on music, whatever he likes to listen to. And I'm not going to say a word. And at first he's like, kind of like glancing over, like, well, this is weird. He's not saying anything. And what I wanted him to do was, if he wanted to talk about it, he would engage with me. And then if I had anything, I had anything. But I said, okay, I'm not going to engage anything. And no matter what, I'm just only going to talk about anything positive he did. Even if he was 0 for 4, hey, your swings look good. You're just a little bit out in front. The guy was a good pitcher. Sometimes you got to tip your hat, but you played great defense. You got on an error, but you got a ball in the dirt, and the next guy got a base hit. You moved to second base and you scored because you went on a ball in the dirt. So I started picking out everything positive that he did in a game where he believes it's negative. And that relationship, not baseball, that father-son relationship changed forever just from making that little adjustment, because he was getting in the car thinking, all right, my dad's going to wear me out for not, getting 2 hits again, And from that point on, like, it was so easy to be the coach dad, because I took that stance where it's like, I'm on the field. I call him Jake. He calls me Coach Jack or CJ or whatever everybody else calls me. He never calls me dad. And then even in the car, it's just like, I'm going to let him be him. And that lasted all the way through college. I mean, the drive homes from Grand Canyon University, like, I would go visit him and watch his games. And in the car, if he had a bad game, just sit in the car, we just listen to music. And then he'd be like, so did you see anything? Like, did you see it? No, I was like, no, I think, he just, work on balance tomorrow, get on the tee, he'll be right back in, maybe stay inside, try to stay inside the ball during BP more, and just kind of give him everything positive that I saw. And that was the biggest change. And I don't think you can do that. I don't think that relationship can maintain. I think it would hurt. It definitely hurts the father-son relationship when you are a coach if it's not really specifically done where it's just flooded full of positivity. The game in itself is negative, but if you want to coach your kid, which is the most favorite thing I've ever done in my life, is coach my kids, whether it's my girls' soccer teams when they were playing little AYSO or playing Jacob. There's nothing. I get up in the morning and I'm just pumped to be a part of it, but it can't survive, especially in those teenage years. It can't survive if it's just like, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. Because then I eventually told him in high school, I'm like, hey, I'll never ask you to go out and take ground balls or hit BP, but I'm never going to tell you no if you ask. So I'm here, and I'm going to hear for you no matter what. You want to talk baseball, you want to get extra swings, you want to take ground balls, and I'm going to say yes every time. But I'm never going to come to you and say, hey, it might be a good idea if you take some swings in the cage because the swing's a little off today. It's not going to happen. And I allowed him to build his own routine and what he felt he needed to do to be a better baseball player. So just things like that, things, where you don't usually get to coach your kid through high school and college. That's usually not the norm, but I think our relationship is so strong as father and son. That's what made it happen. And it's because making those adjustments from those mistakes early that I made.
So do you remember a specific moment in time where you opened that door for him to kind of start the conversation, take that ownership, that responsibility to direct it where it needed to go? Or did you even have to say anything? Did you just, get in the car one day and say, music, shut your mouth, wait?
Yeah.
Like,
was
that kind of how it went?
It was after my father-in-law said something to me because I made him cry in the car. I was like, gosh, I'm such a bad dude. I'm such a bad
it's probably because
dad.
he wants to impress you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, that's the reality. Like,
yeah. And I knew, and I think a part of it was I knew how hard it was going to be for him being a big leaguer's kid. Because that is a whole different set of expectations from people around you. Like you go to a field, you're going to say that's so-and-so's kid. And you're going to stick out regardless if you're even good or not. It doesn't matter. People are going to point you out. There's always that thing. And I remember we had a conversation because somebody had said something that affected him a lot in high school, and I was very happy that it happened. We had some star players in our time at high school. And one of the star guys said, like, Jacob had never played shortstop for me. I always, all the way through, travel ball all the way through, he was a second baseman. And then in his high school stuff, he played on a really good team, and he was our left fielder. So for me, it was like, whatever the team needs to win, that's what you'll play. And Garcia Parra Baseball Group, GBG, it's a big powerhouse travel organization. And they had a nationally ranked team, and there were just D1 dudes everywhere. And Jake earned his way onto that roster as an extra player, but then he moved on and ended up getting a starting job in left field. And I'm like, dude, learn to play everywhere. Wherever you can get the lineup, get the lineup.
Amen.
So growing up, he was so good at turning a double play at second base. Like his release, his accuracy, and it was like, well, if you're playing 9, 10, 12, 13U, that double play is a game changer. So we had really good shortstops, and Jacob was in that mix. I could say, yeah, he can hang with all of those guys, but the ability that what he did for the team at second base was always going to be like, dude, we turn double plays every single time. No, if there's a ground ball to the man on first and it's on the left side of the infield, we're spinning it because he was so good at it. So he never played shortstop for me. And it come his senior year, we have a guy named Max Muncy who was a first rounder for the A's 2 years in 2021. And so those two guys are kind of splitting off, but he like has a great fall. He's starting to get into his body, and he takes the shortstop position where it's like, okay, you guys are still going to split, but he's earned the right to be the opening day guy. And one of the guys he said it to him. He said, you're only the shortstop because your dad's the coach. And I heard it from like a distance, and I'm like, I'm wondering how Jake's going to take this. Like, this is going to be interesting. Like, because like this was a big time player. And I love that it happened because for him, he took his stance where he was like, this is not like I've heard this before. I've heard this over and over and over again. And it's like, I've never been the shortstop here, but he's like, now I'm going to prove to you why I'm the shortstop. And he ends up going to Grand Canyon. He gets All-American. He makes the national team. He obviously gets drafted, but I don't know. I think that those type of stuff motivated him. Those type of comments motivated him. So I told him I think when he was 10 or 11, I said, listen, bro, you're always going to be connected with me. No matter how far you go in this game, if you go nowhere and you don't want to play anymore, no matter what, we're always going to be connected. Whether that's fair or unfair, it is what it is. But if you do something in this game and it's special, just know I have never fielded a ground ball for you. I've never thrown the ball to first for you, and I've never swung a bat for you. Everything that you do in this lifetime, whatever you do in your playing baseball, will be yours. And it might be connected to me. You might always be the son of, but everything you achieve is absolutely yours, 100%. So don't ever let anybody say any different, because the proof is in the pudding. I will never do anything for you. We do a lot of stuff in the backyard. We'll take fungos, all that stuff. When it comes to the game, everything you accomplish is yours, and don't let anybody tell you any different. And I think he was like 11 or 12, and he was really excited to hear that, because it's just like, it's different when you're going to grow up like that, and the thought process that other people have and the expectations. And if you're not good, oh, what's wrong with you? Your dad played. So there's just a lot of the dynamic that's a little different that he had to go through.
And that age you just spoke of, 11, 12, I would even go to 14, is where I see the shift. And what I mean by the shift is, if they're not starting to, hey, you want to throw? Hey, you want to hit? Hey, taking real ownership, there's a problem. You're kind of wondering, is the love there? Is the want to there? And I don't know if that's correlated with puberty. I had puberty at like 4, so it's a little bit different. But did you see that 11, 12? And I would even say that freshman year to high school is where I always see the guys shift. And then I see a dynamic at 16 when girls in the car come in.
Right.
Are they going to shift focus?
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And then the signing, when they get to college,
right,
the pat themselves on the back. There's all these, like, me and Jacqueline talk about all the time. I wish I could draw out a diagram of like all the bumps they'll take and be ready for them and learn prior to getting there. And that's what I hope we can do. But did you see that with him? With some of those milestones?
His sophomore year of high school, he had 210. His sophomore year, first year varsity, played for a freshman. He played on JV. I had just became the varsity coach, so I didn't see him play all year, because our games were, when we were at home, they were on the road type of thing.
You hated that. You hated that, didn't you?
I actually liked, because I knew there was a good chance I was going to get him for 3 years. So I was going to put in the year,
cool.
but that first year, I was going to learn about high school baseball. Anything I go into, I know that it's going to be different. High school baseball is going to be different than travel baseball, simply because your roster changes every year. But in travel ball, our roster always stayed the same, because it was just the same kids, but just a year older. We were there 15U. It's the same team at 16, same team at 17. In high school, you have their seniors leave, and you have your JV guys come up, and it's a different team. So I wanted to learn. So it was good that he wasn't there. Julie took a whole bunch of video, and she would go to all his games, and then she would just send me the videos after the games. So I actually didn't mind it too much, because I had him all summer in travel ball, so it was cool. So I still got that time with him. But his sophomore year was his first year with me, and he was great defensively. But man, he scuffled. But it also was the exact same year that Fortnite came out, and Fortnite became so popular and so much part of his life that the cage, the fungos, baseball kind of took a second place, and it showed in the game. Like, did not hit it all. He didn't hit it all. He wasn't striking out or anything, but there was nothing there.
Did that sneak up on you?
No.
Did that sneak up on you? Or did you see it coming?
I was actually very happy that it happened, because I believe in baseball, you have to embrace the struggle. If you never struggle, you're in real trouble in this game, because nobody has ever gone straight, play their entire lives and then been. I mean, there's a couple cases like a Robin Yount where he plays high school, goes right to the freaking big leagues and plays forever. Gets 3,000 hits in a Hall of Famer. But the struggle is what is needed, especially as a young player. We have these USA guys that come in, and they've been on USA teams since they were 12, and they've never struggled, and then they're getting drafted and going to pro ball, and it's like, man. how I think that's the biggest question with high school guys. How do they handle failing? So by him doing that sophomore year and him being so frustrated at baseball, and it was a conversation where he's like, I can't believe I'm this bad. And I said, well, where are your hours going? Where are your hours in the day going? You got school, but what are your hours? Like, you have your practice at high school, but you literally have a baseball field in your backyard. You have a batting cage. Like, what do you do? And he's like, I play a lot of Fortnite. I said, well, I think that's your answer. I said, the bottom line, I tell the kids all the time, if you want to be really good at baseball, just go to practice. If you want to be great, it's what you do when you're not at practice. It's what you're doing then. Those are the times where you're becoming great. If you want to just be good and maybe good enough to go to college, but keep that same thing, that's going to be the end of it for you. If you want to be great, it's what you do when people aren't seeing, when they're not looking, when you're by yourself, when you find a wall and you're throwing a racquetball against it, trying to work on your hands, when you're hitting off a tee somewhere, when you're playing stickball with your friends, all that stuff. Those are all hours of practice. And I said, your hours are going to being really good at Fortnite, which is good. You're good at Fortnite. He still is. I talked to him this morning. He was playing Fortnite. But if you put in the hours of Fortnite, hours of baseball, what would you expect you to be better at? I expect you to be better at Fortnite than baseball right now, just because of going off of the time you spend on each. And I said, until that changes, it's probably going to stay the same. So it just depends on what you want to do. So that season ended, and he was gung-ho baseball after that. He did not like not being good at baseball. And from then on, he was just laser focused. But he needed that struggle, and he needed me to stay out of it, completely stay out of it and allow it to happen. I think a lot of parents now these days, this generation, they don't want their kids to struggle. And I think it's the most important thing that they need to go through. We tend to take the way that the high school and college is built now is, if you don't like it, we're just going to transfer. If you're not the starter in high school, we can go to this school and you'll be a high school. And they're taking away the competitiveness and they're taking away the grind. That's what is going to make you great. Is if me and McHenry are both catchers and he's the starter and I'm not, there was no choice back in the day. I'm going to train and I'm going to come back next year and I'm going to take your spot. That's just the way it was. Now you have these open enrollments. Well, he's the starting catcher. I'm just going to go to this school. There might not be as good, but I know I can be the starting catcher just by showing up. And what's my drive to work hard if I already have the job, if I just go over there? So there's no embrace of the struggle. They don't want their kids to struggle. And that's great, because that's, as parents, well, of course we don't want our kids to struggle, but it shapes them. It shapes them what they're going to be as an adult. And that's now shaping what they're going to do with their kids, So the grind and going through the hard times is only going to be better for them, especially in sports, because if you can find yourself a way to get out of it, you're only going to be better on the other side. And he goes from hitting 210 his sophomore year to the 6th overall pick. I'm telling you, if you look at line up all the 6 overall picks over the last 10 years, I guarantee you none of them hit 200 in high school. You know what I mean? So it's like, he needed that struggle, and he needed me to allow it to happen, not to cushion him and say, hey, let's go outside. You have to hit. You're hitting 200. You can't do this. I needed him to understand it, because I had to go through the same thing. And I understood the importance of it, because this is a grinder game, and grinder means you are toughening out the hard times. Grinder is not going 4 for 4. You didn't grind out anything. You were just awesome today. That's awesome. Good job. You're not going home thinking, I got to work on something. I just went 4 for 4. I'm ready to go tomorrow. The grinder is what makes people great, is to how do you figure out and how do you make these adjustments to help your team win when you don't have your A game.
And, I think about it all the time. I feel like kids and parents would rather take the assumption than create curiosity. And what I mean by that is like you allow Jacob to kind of dissect what's going on, like where you're spending your time, why are you doing that? And I do that all the time. And I tell kids, especially when they're like, oh, I want a Division I scholarship. I ask them, well, what does that look like? Because Division I is a huge array of schools. Mm-hmm. And they're immediately in Tennessee. They go straight to Vanderbilt. They go straight to Tennessee. And it's like, well, that's a little different, right?
Yes.
Now go look and see who's there. What are they doing in high school? What competition are they playing? Have some curiosity. Don't assume because you're from Knoxville, you're the best player in East Tennessee, that you even are worthy to go to that school. Assume that you're not. Do the opposite of most. And you're right. Like we live in a society where we like keeping the training wheels on or holding onto the seat instead of most people learn how to swim by almost drowning, learning how to ride a bike by falling. And it's not necessarily the ideal way to do it, but you don't forget. Yeah. I'll never forget the first time I touched something hot. I didn't do it again.
Right.
You know, it's like, ooh, that's hot. I don't need to do that. Right. And I think that's the reality of when we go out and coach kids. Why I've had such a, I guess, success rate with kids is because I'm honest with them. I don't beat around the bush. Same thing with the parents. And I make them schedule. I know you'll love this. If they're old enough and they have a phone, they schedule everything. They pay me. They have to give to charity. Everything that I believe in, I kind of wrap it up. And if I start giving them things, I always end up giving them bats, something to help them, you know, maybe enhance their career. And if they seem like they're starting to anticipate it or not be appreciative, I stop. And I always get to see what happens. And, you know, I'll cut people off now, which I didn't used to, and I'll wait for them to have that persistence. Like you were talking about, like Jacob, like, hey, anytime you come say, hey, hit me fungos, throw to me in the cage. And how often I don't see that is remarkable. And I don't know if they're afraid. I don't know if they are unsure. I have no clue a lot of times. But anybody that's listening and any kid that actually wants something, beat down the door of opportunity. If there's someone that says, I will do this, and I use my next door neighbor right now, little 6-year-old, if I tell him we're going to shoot basketball, he'll show up at my house every day. Michael, like Sheldon. I'm not kidding. Every single day. He's like, remember you said you were going to shoot basketball? I was like, yeah. 3 days from now at 12:30, I have a block. I will be there next day. And my wife uses this thing with me. She said, you have a persistence that always wears down the resistance. And I tell kids, don't ever forget, if you want something bad enough, you'll wear down that resistance, but you have to do it on your own terms. And parents don't allow that. Yeah. And I've kind of had to have deep conversation with parents because I've seen mental health issues. I've seen really bad things happening, and the parents don't even see it because they don't turn on the music and let the kid talk. They have the music off and they're talk. And that kid never can reflect or understand or dissect what's really going on in their mind, where there's always a positive. Like you said, you know, you can go 4 for 4 and, hey, you look like a hero, but did you have a good day? Did you barrel the ball up? You could go 0 for 4 and have the greatest day ever. And that's all those little things that I've gotten to see you work with, you know, an array of people from 75 to 80-year-olds all the way down to 17-year-olds. And it's impressive that the same concept works from top to bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you hit it on the nail too. You said honesty. I really think that in coaching, you got to care enough about them to tell them the truth, you know, and discipline them. You know, I mean, there's not a lot of discipline nowadays. Like you can't even raise your voice to some of these kids because it's just the era. They're not used to it, you know? So it's, you know, it's got to be creative as a coach to how do you grab their hearts and grab their attention without them having to cower down because they feel like they're in trouble or you're talking down to them or you raise your voice. You know, that was probably one of the biggest challenges with my childhood, my coaches you had, where it's like they grabbed you by the thing and they push you up against a fence because you did something wrong or you said something wrong or you were a bad team. And now it's like the complete opposite. And I got my biggest thing that I learned was if I can get to a point where I can just look at them in a certain way or just talk in a certain way, that's not to get them to understand, like, that's not what we're supposed to be doing right now. And just, and almost in a one-on-one, like avoid the group slashing, you know, where it's just, you're putting your arm around them and like, bro, that's not how we do that here. Right. Like, so we're going to finish this game. I'm going to put somebody else out there because this happened and you know that it's wrong and it's fine. And we'll take care of it tomorrow, whether we're running or doing whatever. But I want you to understand, like, this is not what it's about. And I love you, but we're going to move forward with this and learn from it. And we'll start a new day tomorrow. And once it's over, it's over. Like there's no carry on, stuff like that, where, you know, in practice where a drill is going crazy wrong, And like, you just hold the ball with the fungo in your hand and you just look at them and you're just like, oh, what are we doing? Where's the intensity? Are we going to switch this up? What do we have to do? Like, why don't we get together right now and talk about what we can do right now to get this right? And that was the way that this generation works. It works more on words of positivity, but also at the same time understanding that there are lines that can't be crossed, and discipline and showing them love.
And to kind of round this all in, the game on the dirt is the same as game in life. And that's something that we're both very, very passionate about is, very fortunate to have a couple coaches in my life show me what a true man was and worry more about developing the character, the respect, the responsibility, the ownership, all those intangible things that created more or less who I am as a human being, and to move forward into life with expectations that are really high, work ethic that was untouchable, because I created standards for myself, seeing standards being met constantly by men I looked up to. And
Right.
I think that's something that people need to understand is like being able to learn how to fail, respond to it, and then find the answers to your own problems in this game will change your life. How many times I see, and I was very fortunate to watch you and Lunch and, Maddie and everybody, and how they went about, talking to certain individuals, and it was never out in front.
Right.
Ever. It was never like, you can't do this. No. You put your arm around somebody, talk to, and nobody even knew what was going on. I truly believe in that. But also like the ability to ask them questions, to let them solve their own problems.
Right.
Is something that I've been really a huge advocate of, is like, hey, what did you see there? It's like, what did you feel there? What's
Right.
going on? It doesn't matter what I see, because I could see something you won't understand at all. Let's figure out what you're feeling, and let's match that feel with what you're seeing and find some common ground. And that's life in a nutshell.
Yeah.
You're not always going to win. Me and you, we absolutely knocked our coverage when we married our wife. But just because we won that battle, we got the absolutely smoking hot wife that's been a dime piece the entire time, been absolutely a saint for us, speaking wisdom and truth. It's not easy. You have to constantly work on that and grow with that, even if it is so easy at the beginning. And that's the same way with a coach, a parent, anyone else. And that's one thing I love about you, of absolute respect about how you've gone about everything, is it's never about the play on the field. It's always about the response you're going to have off that field, how you're going to move forward into life. Because we're very fortunate. We both played in the big leagues. We both had good careers. You had a longer career than I did, but I think both of us have a passion, maybe even much more so, to pour back into the people that are chasing the same dream, and let them learn from the lessons we had. I'll never forget the time, and we'll get into this next podcast, the first time I failed. So I was really, really good. And when I failed, I didn't know what to do. So yeah, I love what you're saying. And I think the response is always about the human being and the care you have for them. And then you'll get that same, response once you care for them on the field as the player. So always separate the jersey and the human.
Right.
I don't care about this, care about what's inside there, that heart, and then we'll worry about that jersey.
For sure. I showed up, I was doing USA last year and we went to the World Cup, but I had just got hired by Grand Canyon in the middle of the summer. And I was talking to the team for the first time. I addressed the team for the first time. I did a whole computer on the, big screen, showing pictures of
You did a
kid.
PowerPoint?
There it is. PowerPoint. I did a full PowerPoint and did this whole thing about talking. And I say, hey, listen, this is really old school. You might think it's old school, but you call me Coach Jack. And normally, especially in high school and even college, the coach word, and especially in pro ball, you're definitely not using coach. But the coach word is super old school. It was kind of like saying Mr. and Mrs. back in the day. So how I grew up, it was always yes sir, no sir. Still the same. I still say yes or no sir. That's what my parents taught me, and it was always Coach so and so. You never call an adult by their first name, and if they had a nickname, you're definitely not saying that to your head coach or whatnot. I said, I want you guys to call me Coach Jack, and this is the only reason why. I said, I believe in the power of the word coach and the responsibility that comes with that. And I said, I've had players, and I say that I can call today that I had 5-6 years ago, and if they answer the phone and they say, "What's up, Coach Jack?" that means I did my job, because they're still calling me coach, which means I had an effect on their life so much that they still call me coach, even though I haven't coached them in 6-7 years. But then I've run into players where hey, Jack, what's up? And I'm like, I knew I failed that person. I failed them because they did call me something for such a long period of time, and now they're calling me something completely different, which means they don't see me as that leader that I should have been. So then I said, it might sound old school, but it is a reminder for me that when I am a coach of a player, that I have a job to do, and it is to make better people, and better people turn into better players. Yes, baseball is part of it, and I understand that, but my job is to have a positive effect on life where people can say, man, like, they learn from my mistakes, which is one of the most, the best tool I can use is my failures, so that they understand that this game is about failure and that nobody's perfect. But Coach Jack is always it's either CJ or Coach Jack. And it's always a test for me. And when someone can say, hey, Coach Jack, it's like, that is a responsibility. Like that word, I think, gets too head coach, whatever it may be. It's just the value has to be there, and it's not as valued as it was before. And it's such a huge responsibility to decide to be a coach of an 8U rec team. It's responsibility. It's not just something you do because you want to coach your kid, because you got 12 other kids on your team that you're supposed to leave. They're supposed to leave you as better people, better young men. We're supposed to guard them all. The win losses, all that stuff is secondary to what our job is to help them grow as men or as people. So it's a little old school, but I think we talked about that at USA, where it's like, hey, that's just a reminder for me on how important this job is. It's not just something I do because I played and I like to call hit and runs and squeezes. Like, that's not why I do this, and you're the same way, where we just want to affect people in a positive way, use our experiences to help guide them. So,
amen. And we're going to stop right there because, man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to enjoy this even more than I thought. I didn't know if that was possible, but this is going to be sick. I have 9,000 ideas in my head. I can't stop.
Yes.
So I'm really excited. Thank you. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think it's like, I can't wait. I can't wait to the next one. We get wherever we're going to go, wherever God puts us on this path on what he wants us to do. I think, I let him lead. And like they said, they're just the ideas coming through, and maybe talking to some guests and taking questions from people on social media stuff, maybe doing a live version. I don't know. You can go anywhere with this. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a lot of fun.